Alrighty, this is chapter 3, and it's entitled Cancer. Okay. Mom and Dad married on Saturday, July 14th, 1979. They were only married for 30 years. They both had their ups and downs, and yes, sometimes I would hear them arguing with one another about something that they had done, or the fact that the other person didn't have enough money from their jobs. For one time in my adulthood, I was wondering if they were getting a divorce because they acted like they no longer loved one another. I believe that they were close to a divorce in the mid-80s. I can't hardly recall what took place, but I remember it was on a night after we got back real late from somebody's wedding. My memory of that night only flashes back to me like photographs. Mom's dress shoe being thrown across the bedroom, hit the wall, and the cushion inside the shoe falling out. Mom crying, confused on what to do, and my younger sister and I trying to comfort her. What started the fight and how it got resolved, I don't recall either. Dad had regretted them fighting the day when Mom was diagnosed on Friday, March 11th, 2005. By then, she was terminally ill on stage 4 of breast cancer. The cancer was already moving onto her bones. At the beginning of 2007 until 2009, Mom acted like she was in remission. She was feeling lively and healthy again, and hardly ever complained about her aches and pains. She went places with her family, to events, and celebrated her birthday with her family, and went to restaurants with her family and friends. In the winter of 2009, she became weak and slowed down. She did nothing but sleep on the couch in the living room, and there was a point where she couldn't get herself moving upstairs to take a shower. That's why in December of 2009, Dad had hired hospice nurses to come in and take care of her. On one afternoon, when Dad told me about hospice coming to take care of Mom, I felt a bit heartbroken. Not because of the nurses coming in to help Mom with bathing or using the toilet, but because it meant that it would mean that Mom would be leaving Earth, and soon. I always prayed for some kind of miracle for Mom's cancer to be 100% gone and out of her body. Back in 2009, I remembered a television show I had watched on the topic of miracles. There was this one teenage girl that was really ill. with what I don't recall, and her family went to somewhere in France because they were told of this one bathing place that was blessed by God. One day, after the teenage girl took a bath in the bathing place, she woke up in the middle of the night to find herself healed. Those kinds of things I prayed for. To my disappointment, God never made that happen. On that same day, when Dad told me about hospice, he dropped me off at the mall to where I could visit with my friend who was working in the bookstore and shop around for some presents. While talking to my bookstore friend about Mom going under hospice care, I was feeling like I was about to cry in front of them. I felt like they were too busy helping other people find books or sell books in the bookstore to care about how I was feeling. I walked out of the bookstore, and halfway to the center of the mall, I felt myself thinking to when I was a little girl, how Mom would bring me to the mall when I was little in order to visit Santa. I pictured myself walking up to Santa and saying to him, "What do I want for Christmas? My mom is sick with cancer and will leave her family and her friends soon. I don't want anything else but her health back. Please heal her, because God can't." With just imagining me doing that and wishing that, I felt tears flowing, and a guy at a booth who was selling hats stopped me, asked me what was wrong. I told him, and he asked me if I had anyone to talk to. I told him I have a therapist I talk to all the time and friends. He said that he lost his father and misses him too. After I calmed down, I had lunch in the food court. "Mommy, you're the best." You hear little boys and girls say that to their mothers almost daily whenever their mothers did something nice for them. A simple "tuck me in, please, Mommy," was a big deal in my youth. She had read me books such as the Berenstain Bears. In 2009, it was my turn to help Dad put her into the hospital bed in which hospice brought over to our house one December afternoon. I also helped her go to the bathroom and helped Dad hold Mom as he changed Mom's diaper. With all the things she had done for me in my youth, I'd done for her when she couldn't do it herself. It was my thanks to her. In Mom's early life, she was a hairstylist. She permed mine and my sister's hair in our youth. She would also cut our hair, too, whenever we needed it. It was her dream to be a hairstylist. I remember her telling me that when she was a little girl, she would do hairstyles on her Barbies. Mom had a good sense of humor, and she would joke about anything that would come to her mind. At night, for example, she would go into the bathroom and announce to me, "Time to brush the toothies. Brush, brush, brush." I just didn't think of her as the greatest or bestest mommy in the world, but the cutest from all her cute jokes, especially about brushing her toothies. She was hardly depressed, except for the last few months of her life. She felt a little down in the dumps. She wanted to be a great aunt to my cousin Sarah's baby, but that never happened. She also wanted to watch my brother, sister, and I get married and be a grandmother to our children, but that didn't happen. Back in 2008, when Mom got called to the hospital for blood clots, I told her my belief in life before life. If you don't live past the time I marry or have kids of my own, I bet they will be waiting for you in heaven, is what I said to her in order for her not to worry. I still believe in this too. I don't recall how I gave her the nickname Eeyore or why. The fact is, she was just as cute as that depressed and gloomy donkey. I even rescued a medium-sized Eeyore doll from the local Goodwill store where I worked since 2002. The week when I first saw him, I noticed his tape color would be the next tape color to go into the dumpster the week after. So I had to rescue that Eeyore doll. He was only around $6 anyway. Since Mom was diagnosed with cancer, that Eeyore became my comfort. I would cry on him and hug him close to my heart. And my sister and I would go to the store to pick out a get well balloon. She spotted one with Eeyore on, smiling and holding his tail in one of his hands, or hooves, should I say. When we found a nice card, I was the one to label the envelope. Instead of putting Mom or Mommy on the envelope, I wrote Eeyore. One night, when she was laying in her hospital bed that the hospital brought over for us, I said to her, "Mom, I love you just like how Eeyore loves his tail." I know that seems silly of me to say it, but I had spoke the truth. Mom had been a great person here on this planet we call Earth, and she entered heaven as the same great person. She left this planet that we call Earth and entered heaven on Monday, February 15th, 2010. Out of indescribable feeling, Dad could sense in the early morning of February 15th she would be leaving us, so he advised me to say goodbye to her. Dad was the first one to say his goodbye. I only stood there watching him. He was saying a quiet prayer, but I can't recall what he was saying. He did the sign of the cross, ending his prayer, and told me that I could say my goodbye to Mom as he headed up the stairs to bed. I looked down at Mom. She appeared to look like she's sleeping, but remembering what one of the nurses said to us, she would be able to hear you but won't be able to respond. I knew she was still with us. A part of me was wondering if she was still with us because she was worried for me. What was she worried about? I'll get to that later. "Mom," I say to her softly so Dad didn't overhear on the baby monitor. The hospice nurse brought us these baby monitors so that if we couldn't hear Mom from upstairs without them, we would hear with them. You don't need to worry about me. If you're worrying is what is keeping you here, don't worry, go. There are people here to help me, and there are those who I can talk to. Because of you, I will be a good mother. First to felines, then to human babies. I'll be a great mom because you were a great mom to me. I love you, Mommy. Then I thought of something I wanted to add, in which Mommy and I were talking about for over a year, in case she would enter heaven sooner than 20 years we had both predicted. Mom, please do me a favor. When you see your dad, hug him for me. I bent down and gave her 2 things, 2 kisses and 2 hugs. 1 hug and kiss for her, and the other hug and kiss for her dad, my beloved Grandpa Raymond. I said goodnight to her and headed upstairs to brush my teeth. While brushing my teeth, I was thinking that I should smooth out her bed hair so she would look good for Jesus when she sees him. I pondered how I could do that without disturbing her resting, and then talked myself out of it. As soon as she leaves her expired body, she would look beautiful, is what I told myself. I went to bed that early morning. When I woke, I mostly just laid in bed, tossing and turning. I knew it was still early, and the ringing of the phone and Dad's voice talking on the phone was the thing that kept me up. I heard Dad go upstairs, down the hall to the bathroom, and the moment when he went back downstairs, I heard him say, "Karen?" I was half awake when Dad walked in upstairs and stopped at my doorway. "Nora, your mom just died." Everyone shows emotion when someone close to them dies. Some cry, some don't. Me? Did I cry at my own mother's funeral? No. I believe I was mostly grieving over Mom's illness when she was living. That when it came to the time when she went up to be with Jesus, I felt relieved, believing that once a person is ill on earth and expires, dies, their soul is healthy once again. In a sense, my prayers were answered. She was healthy again, in spirit and soul, no longer suffering with her illness. It is Dad, my sister, and older brother that mourned Mom's passing the most. I watched them cry, felt their hugs, and seen their tears at the church during the visitation, the whole entire funeral ceremony. If only cats were allowed at funerals, I would have brought our female calico cat of the age of 15 years old, but I thought that Patty would be too scared. Even if I would have brought her along in the pet carrier, she wouldn't like all the people around or being in her small space she was in. Patty took her granny's passing pretty hard, too. Even the days when Mom was in the hospital overnight for a few days for blood clots, Patty would look around for her, crying for her by Mom's couch, in which Mom always laid on, as if Patty was asking, "Hey, Granny, where did he go?" I had to tell Patty that her Granny will be coming home later when Granny feels better. On the day of Mom's funeral, I held Patty in my arms and so that she and I were both eye to eye with each other. "Patty," I said to her, "don't you worry about not being able to say goodbye to her, because I'll do that for you." And that's exactly what I had done. That moment I was standing in front of Mom's casket, I looked down at her. She was wearing her wig, which she hated to wear, and only wore once because it was too itchy for her, and she had her glasses on. Besides all that, she looked beautiful. I leaned down and kissed her on her cheek and forehead. Her skin was, of course, cold. "I love you, Mommy, and so does Patty. She says goodbye too, Mommy," I said to her softly. Then I walked away from the casket to see who else was at the visitation. Almost 200 friends and family showed up for the visitation and the funeral. It was a nice ceremony. Choir did a wonderful job under my request, and for the dinner we had Mom's favorite, chicken. A few days after the funeral, Patty was still looking for her. She even looked for her in the half bedroom down in the basement and back at the couch. Again, I had scooped Patty in my arms and said the following: "Patty, your Granny is with Jesus now. She's no longer suffering. When you're older, you'll go off to Jesus too and see your Granny again. Please don't be sad, because I had passed your message on for you."